So one common thing that we're all running into as anglers is that our waterways are getting more and more popular with other anglers. With social media nowadays, there's more anglers flocking to every body of water across the country, especially if you live on some of the most popular ones. Any of the Tennessee River, any lake in Florida especially. And a lot of these northern lakes are getting hit really, really hard, especially this time of year. It's post-spawn for the most part, or your spawn is just heating up to where you're getting all these people, the weather's warming up no matter where you are across the country, and everybody wants to fish. And I can't blame them. I like to fish. Everybody likes to fish. But what I want to talk about is how to get bit when you're fishing in a crowd, because it gets pretty tough. In practice or the day before the weekend, you might be going out and getting a cool crankbait bite going or getting a chatterbait bite going or any of your favorite moving baits, but then all of a sudden the weekend hits or the tournament starts and you're not getting bit and you're noticing a lot more people fishing around your area. So I'm going to talk about a few of my favorite techniques, because finesse fishing doesn't mean slowing down necessarily, just means giving these fish a different look. So I have 3 baits that I'm going to break down that give me more of an edge on the field that I think is going to help you catch more fish in a crowd. Real quick, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to follow on with the content, but let's talk about my favorite 3 baits for fishing in a crowd. So kind of what I hinted at earlier is you don't have to slow down to necessarily finesse fish, especially if you're fishing in a crowd, especially if you're on some of these lakes where you have to cover water to catch fish. If you're fishing any of the Oklahoma lakes or just any of these bigger bodies of water where you really have to cover water, it just means giving the fish a different look. And so one of my favorite covering water baits is going to be actually a swing head. I use it in the same areas that I would use a crankbait, or if you're ledge fishing or etc. And it's a beautiful way to cover water because you can put your favorite soft plastic craw on there, a swim bait, etc. And it gives these fish a different look. And the biggest thing that I can talk about is sound. Sound and vibration. What fish hear most often is the same consistent noise over and over again, because whether you're on a ledge fishing lake, whether you're on a shallow grass lake, what's the one common thing people throw? Moving baits. And so if people are fishing ledges, the first baits they reach for are going to be a 6XD, a 5XD, a big spoon, or a Carolina rig. They're going to throw the same, or a hair jig. They're going to throw the same baits over and over again. Same thing with grass fisheries. If you have shallow cover, guys are going to throw a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, and a square bill. It's just what people pick up, right? Or a jig. If you're fishing shallow cover, that's what everybody likes to throw. So what you have to do is you have to think about what those baits present and how you can do the same thing but in a different way. And so a swing head for me does the same job that a crankbait and a jig would do, but now I'm getting a naked look at it because there's no skirt, there's no secondary action, but I still get some free motion with that swing head on there. I get the naked look of a soft plastic, which fish always love, no matter where you're at. That's why they work so well. These soft plastics just do such a great job. And I typically put a Z-Man Helicra on here, or a diesel minnow or something along those lines. But what I can do with this bait is I can fish gravel bars, I can fish the same stuff I would throw shallow crankbaits or spinner baits in, but now I don't have the rattling, I don't have the vibration. All I have is the sound of this lead head bumping off those rocks, and then they get the look of the craws back there flapping, or the swim bait kicking, or if you were to put a creature bait back there on there moving. And what I can do that's really cool with this bait is I can fish it super deep, I can fish it super shallow, and I can also stop it. And why I like the Z-Man style plastics for this is because as soon as I stop it, those craws float up and they give those fish the opportunity to eat it, and it puts it up in that defensive position, and it just looks more lifelike. But I'm really able to cover a ton of water and catch a lot more fish in pressured situations simply because those fish aren't hearing the same vibrations as they would with traditional moving style baits. And like I said, it's just super versatile, being able to fish it shallow and deep simply by changing the size of this a little bit. And so my go-to is like a 3/8 to a 5/8, pretty much at ½ ounce range. This is a Trocar swing head right now, and I will always have all this stuff linked down below for you guys that are new to the channel, but those of you guys that already watch already know. But a swing head, definitely one not to sleep on. It's one of my absolute favorite covering water baits in pressured areas. So the next bait that I want to talk about is one that you guys probably already could have guessed it, and it's going to be a swim bait. if you have any clear bodies of water, or even if you're fishing around grass, fishing shallow, if your body of water has any kind of visibility, fish are always going to eat a swim bait. And I like that Z-Man Diesel Minnow. This is color Mulletron. You can see it's like super translucent. And it just does such a great job of getting the pulsing action that has a natural look of a bait fish. Allows me to cover a ton of water. I can cover, again, just like that swing head, I can cover 2 foot of water all the way to, theoretically I can cover like 200 feet of water if I put a big enough head on it, right? But you get it. I can cover all different depth zones, and that's the beauty of it. And I can use it for smallmouth, spotted bass, largemouth, etc. If I go upsize it, you know, if I put it on an underspin, I can fish it around grass. Same places I would fish a chatterbait. I can put it on there with an weedless underspin, do the same exact thing, but give those fish a different look without that loud vibration. Because I'm a firm believer that sound is one of the biggest things that deters fish. Because the problem with it is they hear it coming before they see it. So what happens is it's kind of like footsteps to a doorway. If you're sitting in a quiet room and you can hear the footsteps coming through, after a while, after hearing footsteps coming through, you already know it's coming. But as soon as somebody opens that door without you hearing the footsteps, it scares the crap out of you, right? It's the same thing that these baits do for fish, because they don't hear it coming, they have to see it. And a lot of times it catches them by surprise and they have to either eat it or run away. And most oftentimes they eat it, which is what we want. And so that's why a swim bait is my number 2, because I can do the same thing that I would do with a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, etc. Still get big fish, because we all know those swim baits get big fish bites, and I can just cover a ton of water in all different depth zones and be super, super versatile with it. That's what I want. And one of the last baits that's kind of a sleeper that most people wouldn't think about, right? This is going to be one of my favorite covering water baits, and that's a 6 cents provoke. This is a jerk bait. And the reason that I like a jerkbait, first off, this 6 cents provoke, it's quiet. They made a +1 model, it's called a DD, but they made it in a silent. They also have the original shallow diver in a silent as well. But you don't have to necessarily throw the silent, but the key to a jerkbait for me is, with the sound, if you throw one with BBs or if you throw one without BBs, is the sight, where it's darting back and forth. It's not a consistent motion, because when everybody throws crankbaits, chatterbaits, etc., it's that same wobble all the way through, constant noise, constant sight, and that's what I'm talking about next, the sound of it. Instead of a rattle, 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 now you have a ch, 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 and it just catches them by surprise because it's something different that they don't normally hear. People, I don't know why, and this is my rant for the day, people stop throwing jerkbaits. I really don't understand it. The problem with a jerkbait is it's not going to get you the size that you necessarily are going to get with a chatterbait and whatnot, but it's going to get you numbers of fish. And when you're fishing in a crowd, that's honestly all you need, is to get numbers of fish, because eventually you'll weed through to get big ones. And so that's why I like a jerkbait, especially in the silent model, is it catches those fish by surprise. It gives them a different action that they're not used to, by giving them that unconstant vibration where it's darting, 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 and then the flash of it. If it's a really sunny day, high skies, I'll put a chrome one of these suckers on like I have right here, and that flash is going to just catch them by surprise, because they'll be able to see it. It looks more like a wounded bait fish, and it has an inconsistent action, and that reaction just triggers those fish, and that's what gets those bites. But again, when you're fishing in a crowd, it's all about trying to do something just a little bit different than everybody else is, because these community hole areas that people are fishing in nowadays are community holes for a reason. There's fish there. But you have to figure out, with all of the pressure that's around those fish, they're not going to put up with it forever. They're going to move, and they're going to do something a little bit different, and you're going to have to throw a little bit different baits. So thinking about the stereotypical baits, what can you do a little bit different? And I think these 3 baits are going to help you be a little bit different and get more bites around these pressured areas this summer and right now. So I really think you guys need to pick these baits up. So another great bait for fishing around crowds and fishing this time of year is going to be a fluke. And I'll have a video linked up here where I break down all the new tips and tricks where I talk about fluke fishing that I think you're going to want to know to help get you in more of an edge when you're fishing a fluke this time of year, because fish come up schooling all throughout the summertime, and a fluke is a great way to catch them. So always having a fluke or a top water on deck is a great way to get some bonus bites. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video, and God bless.